A professional counselor in the Dallas area is growing in popularity for his treatment methods.
How do you talk to kids about terror? And with social media and television, it's everywhere, and it's unavoidable for kids.
Rusty Lozano is the founder of the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. He's also been nationally recognized for his work with brain mapping.
He's created a gym to work out the mind. His office features an obstacle course.
Rusty Lozano is a licensed professional counselor, helping children with headaches, with anxiety, ADHD, and more.
Here's where Lozano comes in. He teaches kids how to think their pain away with something called biofeedback.
A North Texas therapist is treating patients in this unconventional way.
We have Rusty Lozano who's joining us today. He's a licensed professional counselor.
He put together an unusual treatment for teenagers who are struggling with mental issues, except he's taking this now a step further.
Rusty Lozano, a leading therapist and pediatric biofeedback therapist based in Texas at the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. And Rusty, thanks for being with us tonight.
Rusty Lozano, a father of 4 and also a professional counselor in Texas, says it's all about being a credible resource to your children.
The Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, your dedicated resource for mental health news, views, and tips you can use. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas. And now, here's Rusty.
Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano. A few weeks ago, we had E.J. Snyder from the Discovery Channel show Naked and Afraid, and we discussed his survival experience on the show. It was a phenomenal show. It was actually really popular. We had phone calls and people were inquiring about it. We never had a chance to get around to, asking him some questions. So I'd like to do this again and delve in a little deeper into the topic of frustration tolerance and resilience and what can be shared about coping with difficult circumstances. First, let's define frustration tolerance. The American Psychological Association defines frustration tolerance as the ability to withstand obstacles and stressful situations. Behavioral manifestations include irritability, aggression, lability, and refusal to participate. As with other behavior problems, difficulties with frustration tolerance are often exacerbated by fatigue. So that is a common trigger. We live in a society that demands instant gratification. Unfortunately, the philosophy of I want what I want and I want it now has become a mindset for many teens. For some, when they do not get what they want instantaneously, they become frustrated because they have not developed the coping skills to deal with the frustration and have yet to learn the valued qualities of patience and perseverance. An article from the Washington Post reports that the bigger challenge teens face is conflict negotiation, and they often are unable to think for themselves. The over-involvement of helicopter parenting prevents children from learning how to grapple with disappointments on their own. If parents are navigating every minor situation for their kids never really learn to deal with conflict on their own. So helicopter parenting is one of the reasons that has caused these kids to crash land. Joining us today is Discovery Channel's Jeff Zausch. He is a survivalist from the show Naked and Afraid, Madagascar, and Naked and Afraid, XL, Colombia, and Amazon. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Glad to be with you, Rusty.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for joining us. Jeff, what was the show Naked and Afraid like for you? Can you tell us a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, so, like you said, Naked and Afraid, it's not just a physical challenge, but it's a mental challenge. 21 days of the most drawn-out, painful, miserable experiences that most people have probably ever had. But on the flip side of that, there was also the greatest highs that you've ever felt. When you go 5 or 6 days without eating, and you catch and kill your first meal, the excitement, the adrenaline, the joy that you feel when something like that happens, it's almost unexplainable. But for me, it was much more of a mental challenge than it was a physical one.
And would you say that particular type of mental challenge, was that one of the toughest ones that you've actually experienced?
Yes, it is. Of course, like everybody, I've been through very difficult things in my life, certain traumas and things that have happened, but nothing that can compare to this level of anguish and mental torture, day after day, minute after minute for that prolonged of a time.
21 days, day and night, and you guys had to figure it out. So would you say there's really a way to prepare for this, or is there a way?
Well, I did my best. I mean, to prepare for the challenge, I would run barefoot on the icy streets of my hometown, running through the rock salt and the gravel that the snowplows put down, trying to toughen up my feet, trying to toughen up my mental ability to push through the pain and all that. But really, there's nothing that can prepare you for it. It's kind of like life. We do the best to prepare our children for what's coming, but it's very difficult to do. Sometimes you just have to do it.
Yeah, there is no really way. There's no real way to prepare for things that children are going to face, the types of stressors out there, because we can actually, like you were jogging on ice and rock and salt gravel and that's just something that's it's a generalized type of preparation. But there's always going to be things that come up that are unplanned, and you weren't really. It kind of makes you think for a bit, and so that requires a level of problem solving. So for you guys, it was actually, how are we going to get food and water? So how did you work through that?
Well, it was difficult because my first Naked and Afraid that I did was in Madagascar. And my partner was Eva Rupert, and we were complete opposites. Like, we could not have been any more different than we were. And, religiously, socially, everything, we were very different people. So to communicate and to work as a partnership and to work as a team to achieve these things that, are really life or death. You find fresh water, you find food, or you don't, and you don't make it. To be able to work with each other, it was an incredible challenge. But, faced with those circumstances, we had to do it. We had to communicate. We had to break down our barriers. We had to compromise. We had to give up certain things that normally maybe we would not be willing to negotiate. But when you're faced with difficult circumstances, you have to learn to compromise, to communicate, and to really learn to love the person that you're with despite the differences that are there.
And that's actually a really strong message to love and find a way to get along and work through your differences. That's a level of interpersonal skill that isn't necessarily like a really difficult one. You're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to, talking to somebody, but it seems like there's a lot of hype about, a lot of pressure and hype on, mastering interpersonal skills. But under those circumstances, and you're under a lot of pressure, I imagine that's probably a really, like, a very difficult thing to do. I can't even, I'm trying to picture myself in a situation like that and being tired, hungry. You're probably hurting and you're not sleeping well. That's got to really wear down on your patience and your resiliency.
Oh, it does. I mean, absolutely. I mean, believe me, the hunger, the pain that we experience, it is very real. And I mean, in my opinion, and I think I can speak for all the makers of the show, Naked and Afraid is the most authentic, real reality television show that has ever been on television.
So even though you have cameramen there, it's like they're almost invisible because they're not really allowed to interact with you and help. Is that kind of how it works?
No, absolutely not. They have strict rules that the camera crew cannot talk to us. We cannot talk to them. They maintain a distance at all times. The cameras are always rolling, but to be honest, by day 2, we forgot, that the cameras were even there. Like, that was not something that we were worried about. I mean, we were worried about the food and the water and 115-degree temperatures during the day and the 47-degree temperatures at night and the thunderstorms and the mosquitoes and the venomous snakes and spiders. I mean, the camera crew was very low on our list of things to worry about.
That sounds really extreme. What was your highest and your lowest point, Jeff?
Well, my lowest point in my first challenge was, I think it was day 7. We had gone the first 7 days without any significant source of food. We had already lost significant body weight, and I was getting very down on myself. I mean, I'm a very big hunter, and my hunting skills are one of the things that I was expecting me to bring to the table to get us through the experience. And I just wasn't having any luck, and I was feeling very down on myself, and I didn't know what the next few days were going to hold. And so I spent the most of day 7 in prayer, just trying to reevaluate my situation, reevaluate what I need to do to survive. And then the very next day came probably one of my, the greatest highs of that first challenge was when we caught a 5.5-foot long boa constrictor. And that was a lot of food. It was a major success. We were just screaming and yelling and high-fiving, and it was, the greatest joy we've ever felt in our lives. And it comes less than 24 hours after one of the lowest experiences, that we had felt. So the highs and the lows are so extreme, and sometimes they're so very close together.
It almost seems like, the low points are actually necessary in order to really appreciate the high points. There's a Disney movie that came out here last summer, and it's about these little, I'm trying to think of the name of the show, where they had these little emotions were characters in the head. It was Inside Out, my son says. And so, the gist of that story was that, happiness was the main character, and there are these little marble-like, little
memories,
little devices that would come rolling through the head, and those are memories. And so, anytime any one of those emotions touched that memory, then it would actually be their dominant emotion. And there was happiness, and there was sadness, and then there was disgust and anger and fear. And so happiness, we all think about the concept of happy. We always need to be happy. And, the message behind that story was that, happiness was trying to dominate, make this little girl happy and her little interactions very happy. And then there was sadness. And sadness would come and touch one of the memories, and it would actually change even the color of the memories, a little marble. And so they go through this little interaction, and they get lost, and long story short, happiness and sadness get stuck together. And at the end of the movie, it actually shows that happiness was wrong, that actually, sadness and being low made happiness even more of a sweeter delight. It actually made it just like a safety and a recovery, if you will. So would you agree with a concept like that? I mean, you've kind of...
Yeah, I love that. That is so true, and the problem is that when, a lot of people who are facing struggles in life, who are facing these, these very difficult times in their life, sometimes they give up before, the happiness comes. When the storm is raging, when, the lightning bolts are hitting the ground, it feels like it will never end. But the truth is, the sunlight will come. The happiness will come, but you cannot give up before that happens. You have to push through the trials.
Yeah.
And then that'll make, it makes the joys and the happiness so much greater.
And I like the word that you use there, trials, because that's essentially what it is. Throughout your entire life, you'll have trials with friends, trials in your marriage, trials with your finances, trials with your children, and it's like a test, and it is a low, and it's unforeseen sometimes, and how you actually manage through that. But then that's the recovery of that, and the success that you get is what makes home, and that's family, and that's safety. And I think to this little how you guys were making your hut, and it showed, quite a bit, like, these two individuals, you and your partner, laying head to head, and you're talking about food. and it's like, it's a moment you're sharing, because that's a moment of quiet. There's not a lot that is going on, and you reflect on the day, and it's a very powerful thing to be able to look back at something that you encountered and grow from it, because I think that's the growing process. Would you agree with that?
Right. Yeah, it is. It is. And it's the times of trial and the times of sadness and difficulty that allow us to grow. Without those things in our life, growth will not happen. And I think, a lot of, kids in today's society, they tend to be, coddled and protected and even blame others, for what's going on in their life rather than facing those trials head on. Well, that's what brings growth. That's what develops character. And that's what's so important to understand, that trials are not here to plague us and to hinder us. They're here to help us become stronger.
Well said, Jeff. If you're just joining us, we're visiting with Jeff Zausch. We'll be right back after these messages.
From the Talk Radio 1190 Weather Center, today very cloudy out with a high of 82. Scattered showers tonight around 8 p.m. with a low of 70.
There's no better way to get a fresh start than to buy smart at Jerry Durant.
Drive new 2016 Camrys for $189 a month.
At Durant Toyota in Weatherford.
And Jerry Durant Toyota in Granbury.
With approved credit, $19.99 due, no security. Excludes TT&L and dealer fees. See dealer for details.
Hi, I'm Rodney Anderson, inviting you to tune into my daily radio show from 11 a.m. to noon on Talk Radio 1190 a.m. Listen in for sound financial advice, and I'll answer all your money questions and more, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. on Talk Radio 1190.
Do you have to worry about identity theft during tax season? Yes. The IRS has reported over $6 billion in fraudulent refunds in a single tax year due to identity theft. Does it matter if you're not getting a refund? No. Thieves can use the information from your tax documents to steal your identity anytime. Can getting a neck massage make worrying about identity theft less stressful? Yeah. Who doesn't like a neck massage? But it won't help like LifeLock can. When you're a LifeLock member, you have access to our team of U.S.-based specialists who know the steps to take to work to resolve identity theft issues during tax season and every other time of year. With LifeLock, identity theft can be less of a pain in the neck. Get LifeLock for peace of mind year-round. Memberships start at $9.99 a month plus applicable taxes. And now you can get 10% off. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code NEWS. LifeLock.
Owning your own business is one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do. But it certainly isn't easy. For nearly 50 years, business owners have been getting the help they need from SCORE, all for free.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
SCORE mentors are passionate about sharing their expertise to help small businesses achieve success.
I could not have done it alone.
Whether you're a startup or an existing business, SCORE mentors can help you achieve your goals and help your business grow. With more than 12,000 volunteers with real-world business experience, SCORE is ready and willing to help make your dreams come true.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible, all for free.
Visit SCORE.org to get started today. SCORE, for the life of your business.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hello, we are back, and we're visiting with Jeff Zausch from Discovery Channel's Naked and Afraid, Madagascar, and Naked and Afraid XL. The XL series was actually longer, right, Jeff? It was actually not 20 days, but how long was that?
Naked and Afraid XL was 40 days, so
40 days. So what was the gist of that one? There were more players, and how did you guys, I remember the series, and you guys all found each other at one point, but Was it always like that? Did you all start out together?
No, we didn't all start out together. There was 12 people to begin with, 6 men and 6 women. And we were in all separate groups spread out by 10 or 20 miles across the Colombian jungles and savanna. And usually it was in groups of about 3 or so. To begin with, I was with EJ from day 1, really, and then we paired up with the others right around about day 20 or day 22 was when everybody finally came together.
So when you and EJ were actually a really powerful team. You guys were making tools, you're making baskets, and you had a hut. I mean, it was like you guys really worked well together. But then you bring in an element of working with a female, and so you have males and females, and there's of course the awkwardness of being nude together, but then it gets real. The situation gets really real, and those are common areas that we see issues with adolescents is dealing with relationships and dealing with girlfriends or either conflict resolution issues or friendship issues. When you guys were all together, it actually got really serious. There was a big division among the tribe, but then you all still worked together. But food was scarce, and then it was you. And I remember there was a point where actually you went and you harvested a giant eel. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah. So you're right. It was very difficult when EJ and I met up with everybody else. I mean, we were working so well together. We were such a well-oiled machine. And then you bring in all these different personalities, all these hungry, starving people. And that's when things got difficult. And there was very limited food resources where we were. And, as time went on, it became apparent that I was the supreme hunter of the group. Everybody had their particular skill that they brought to the table, and hunting was mine. And so every day I'd go down to the water and I'd fish. And, most of the time I'd bring in little, 4 or 5 inch piranha or lake trout or something. And this one day I'm sitting there and I see what looks like a torpedo, shooting up through the water, up the stream. And I'm like, what is that? I was thinking, is this an anaconda? Is it, what is this? And I look closer and I see that this thing is an electric eel. The stuff that you see on Animal Planet and stuff, you never think you're going to see one in real life. And, immediately I knew it was food. I mean, I didn't even think about the risk of, this is going to shock me. It was just, this is food, and I need this in my stomach. And so, EJ was there, and he's trying to get in to see what he can do, but EJ's a lot heavier than me, so he's sinking in the mud. And I'm a little bit lighter, so he throws me his wooden spear, and I jump in the water and spear this electric eel, through the body, and it's flipping and flailing and splashing, and that's when it shoots its first electric charge through my body. And I tell you, Rusty, I mean, I grew up on a farm. I've been hit by electric fences hundreds of times, but this electric eel was unbelievably powerful. I mean, it knocked the wind out of me. It felt like my hair was standing up on end. I mean, it was like a horse kick to the chest. I mean, I gained a whole new appreciation for God's creatures and what they're capable of.
And that's something that you had to do, and it was a pain that you had to endure. Let's translate that to today's world and how teenagers develop some sense of coping mechanisms. And there are sometimes they have to make difficult choices. They have to actually choose the right kind of friends, or they have to end a relationship, or they have to actually stand up to some kind of adverse situation, whether it be being bullied or facing depression and feeling listless and just kind of lost. And so there's a choice that needs to be made. So, Jeff, what in that situation where you knew you had to do it, What was going through your mind? I mean, it was here you have this huge ill. It has a capacity to kill you. But there was another drive inside of you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course I did not want to get electrocuted. Right?
Who would sign up for that?
That's not something I was looking forward to. And I knew it was going to happen. I mean, I knew it, and I tried to kill the eel without getting shocked, and it just didn't work out. I mean, I was shocked at least 10 or 12 times just on that first electric eel. And I think in today's society, we don't like to do things that are hard. And that's natural. That's a very reasonable thing to want. We don't want to do things that are hard, whether it's going to the gym and getting in shape and losing weight, or whether it's going to college or staying up till 3 a.m. writing a midterm paper, or or distancing ourselves from some friends who we know are bad influences. We don't want to do things that are hard, but we need to look at, is it worth it? Why would we do it? And is it going to bring good things into our life? In my case with the eel, EJ and I, we hadn't eaten in days. We had just made a 20-mile journey across the hot savanna. We had burned thousands of calories. Our feet were infected with thorns. We were dehydrated. All these things. We needed this eel. Like, it wasn't a question of whether we, didn't want to do it because it was going to be too hard or because it could kill us. We needed it, and we needed to do it right then, right now. And, and so you just jump in. You jump in that water, and you get it done. But I tell you what, Rusty, all the electric shocks I got, all the pain, the feeling the electricity go into my heart, and to feel that, it was so worth it. I mean, to have all that meat, eating around the campfire with all of the survivalists, when we shared the eel with everybody else, seeing the smiles on everybody's faces, it was so worth it. Like, the reward was so much greater than the pain that we had to endure.
And it was actually the pain, in comparison, the pain was shorter lived than the benefit. So if you need help, or if you're struggling, or if you're in an ominous place and you're depressed and you're sad and you're contemplating hurting yourself, or contemplating a situation that is painful, when you resolve it, in this case you're resolving your hunger and you're hurting, it's like the benefit lasts longer, and it's a lot more of a golden moment than actually enduring the pain. Because how many minutes would you say you went through the shock and you were in that terrible discomfort?
Oh man, Rusty, you are so right. I mean, total, stabbing the eel, hitting it with the machete, getting it out of the water. I mean, it probably took less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
Honestly, and the reward from that lasted days. I mean, we were feeling good for 4 or 5 days after that meal.
That's amazing.
And that's how it always is. That's how it always is. The pain that we go through in a particular trial or whatever we're going through, the pain is so much shorter than the reward that we are going to receive once we endure that particular trial.
And it's solace.
So much shorter.
So much shorter. And it's solace. It's peace. It's comfort. It's help. And and in this world with their kids, and this is a message to our children, it comes to 3 simple words. I need help. And I need help, and whether it be that you're telling your parent, or whether it be that you're telling a teacher, or whether it be that you're telling a school counselor, or whether it be that you're telling a friend, that can make all the difference in the world. And then the comfort and like the reining in of support comes in, and it makes things much, much better. And that's what I enjoy about this show. I really enjoy, I watched you over time, and I watched EJ, and I watched another one of your staff endure this, and you were tiptoeing and I remember you were walking over the rocks and you're like, ooh, ah, and you're you could see how difficult it was. And then there was another scene where you were actually trying to fish out a lizard, and you were already starving, and you were tired, and you were hurting, and you were losing more calories than you were going to get from that little lizard. But you stayed the course, and then when you won, you could see it in your face. That visceral reaction is just amazing. You and EJ have some of the most powerful visceral, the most exciting. And you can see where it's coming from, and you can feel it, and it's just really amazing. It's very moving that you guys are able to endure that powerful stuff. With
the lizard, I was in Madagascar, and I was trying to get this lizard out of this rock, and the rock was solid, it was hard, and he was all the way embedded in his hole down in this rock, and I was chipping away at it, like a caveman, and I knew I was burning more calories than it was going to take to get the lizard. I mean, it was not, if you thought about it logically, you could have said I probably should have walked away. But at that time, it wasn't about the calories of the lizard. It became about, refusing to give up. I had worked so hard for this, and yes, I could have walked away. And, and I probably would have saved more calories that way. But I was not willing to give up. The camera crew, they actually did talk to me a little bit during that scene, and they said, Jeff, are you okay? I don't think you're going to get this thing, and I looked at him and I said, I'm going to get this thing. I said, if you guys are sick of sitting here, under the hot sun, if you guys want to go back to your camp and eat lunch, you do it. I'm going to get this lizard, So, that's what it was about, really.
Powerful, powerful message. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. We'll be right back after these messages.
From the Talk Radio 1190 Weather Center, today, very cloudy out with a high of 82. Scattered showers tonight around 8 p.m. with a low of 70.
There's no better way to get a fresh start than to buy smart at Jerry Durant.
Drive new 2016 Camrys for $189 a month.
At Durant Toyota in Weatherford.
And Jerry Durant Toyota in Granbury.
With approved credit, $19.99 due, no security. Excludes TT and Allen dealer fee. See dealer for details.
Texas. It's a big state with a whole lot of wind blowing around. What can we do with all that wind? Or what do you say we power all of our homes with pure 100% wind energy? At Breeze Energy, we're totally 100% green. We don't do coal or nuclear, and we never will. So why not go with the wind? Go to breezeenergy.com. We think you'll see we're a genuine breath of fresh air.
This is Pete the Fast Greek, host of Race Talk, the motorsports talk show, heard every Sunday live from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on Talk Radio 1190. When the races are over, we're just getting started with the latest news and results from NASCAR, NHRA, the IndyCar Series, and what's going on right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth racing scene. And remember, keep your racing on the track, not on the street.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. The LASIK Vision Institute is now offering dramatically low prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved LASIK technology for a fraction of what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-700-6651. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra 20% discount off our already low-cost services. We've already performed over 1 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve at a fraction of what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-700-6651. 1-800-700-6651.
Do you have to worry about identity theft during tax season? Yes. The IRS has reported over $6 billion in fraudulent refunds in a single tax year due to identity theft. Does it matter if you're not getting a refund? No. Thieves can use the information from your tax documents to steal your identity anytime. Can getting a neck massage make worrying about identity theft less stressful? Yeah. Who doesn't like a neck massage? But it won't help like LifeLock can. When you're a LifeLock member, you have access to our team of U.S.-based specialists who know the steps to take to work to resolve identity theft issues during tax season and every other time of year. With LifeLock, identity theft can be less of a pain in the neck. Get LifeLock for peace of mind year-round. Memberships start at $9.99 a month plus applicable taxes. And now you can get 10% off. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code NEWS. LifeLock.
Hi, this is Bernadette. Do you want to get to know your body inside and out? Now you can tune into One Life Radio twice a day. Wake up with us at 5 and go to lunch with us at noon. Weekdays right here on Talk Radio 1190.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
We are back, and we are visiting with Jeff Zausch from Discovery Channel's Naked and Afraid. And this has been an awesome show. We're going to open up the phone lines at 214-787-1190. That's 214-787-1190. Let's get to know Jeff. Jeff, what inspired you to sign up for an experience like this?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I grew up in Idaho, and I've always loved the outdoors. I've always been, a big-time hunter and outdoorsman, and that's where I kind of refined my skills on how to survive in the wild. But I never wanted to be on television. That was never a desire of mine. But I saw Naked and Afraid on television, and I looked at it as, it was a challenge for me. It was not a TV show. For me, it was one of the most authentic, difficult survival challenges that I had ever seen. And I just had to do it. I saw it on TV, and I thought, I can do better than these guys. And it created kind of a competition inside of me with myself. Could I do that? And how well could I do that? And could I do it and still maintain my humanity, if you will? So I had all these goals that I wanted to achieve, and so I went for it and applied, and 3 weeks later I was in the Madagascar desert. So.
Interesting, man. And I read your bio, and I read up on you, and there's something actually else. There's something that really inspires you, and it gives you strength. Would you feel comfortable talking to us a little bit about that, about your dad?
Yeah. So, my dad, he was born with a heart condition, and the doctors predicted that he would never survive to 6 weeks old. They didn't think he was going to make it, and he had a couple open heart surgeries before he was even a few months old, and then the doctors still didn't think he was going to survive to see his first birthday, and he did. And then the doctors said my dad would never, survive to attend elementary school, and he did. And, time after time, the doctors kept telling my dad that he didn't have long to live. And time after time, my dad kept proving them wrong. They said he'd never live a normal life. They said he'd never be able to exercise or climb a mountain. And he did all of these things and more. And when I was out there in Madagascar for the first time, I was going through starvation. I was dehydrated. I had multiple infections throughout my body. And I was trying to climb a mountain to hunt down an animal. And I could only take 2 or 3 steps without having to stop and breathe and catch my breath. And that reminded me of my dad. Because of his heart, because of his weakened heart, he could only take a few steps at a time on difficult terrain before he had to stop and breathe hard and get that air into his lungs. And I thought back to my dad, and I thought, you know what? My dad did this for 51 years of his life. He endured, this trial that he had to face, that he was born with, and he did it for 51 years. And I thought, how can I not do this for 21 days? How can I not do this for 40 days? And so whenever I was at the lowest point, I thought back to my dad, and I thought, here's this man that I witnessed my entire life. Here's this man that did all of these things, that accomplished so much despite people telling him he would never be able to do them. And how can I not do it for just a moment? And I think that's what everybody needs today. Everybody needs a role model. Everybody needs that person that they can look to give them inspiration when they're down, when they're in need of that inspiring moment. So for me, it's my father.
And people find strength in faith. They find strength in people, in family members. They find strength in role models. And I think that it's at the end of the day, we only have ourselves to assess and compare to. But when you have somebody else that you look up to, and you model yourself after accomplishments that they've done, it actually, I think it makes things a little easier to process. I mean, especially when you have an outside reference and it's not just you and your own thinking, but you have something else that you're modeling after. And sometimes you can go above and beyond what they've done. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, man. I mean, life does not come with a roadmap. We do not know, how to live this life. We don't know the things that we're going to face and how to overcome all the many, troubles and difficult things that we're going to experience. So the best way to do that is to look to somebody else who has already done it and try to see how did they do it. And for a large portion of the globe, it may be Christianity, it may be how did Jesus live his life? How can I learn from him? For other people, it may be, another deity figure, or it may be, like in my case, it may be, a father or, a sports athlete or a musician or, anybody. Look at how the successful people have lived their life and try to model your behavior after them. And I think that's a great strategy.
It's a great strategy, Jeff. Let's take a call. Hi, welcome to the Therapy Hour.
Hi, I just had a quick question. I was wondering what motivated you to want to do Naked and Afraid?
That's a great question. Because most people think I'm crazy, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest questions I get is, why would you ever want to do this? And for me, it was I wanted to challenge myself. My biggest motivation was not knowing how far I could go. What were my limits? I had survived in the Idaho and Montana and Alaska wilderness for brief moments of time. I had done it for 7 days, 10 days, but I had never done it with nothing. I had never done it without clothes and without tools. And I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see how strong am I? How mentally strong can I be? So for me, it was all about the challenge. I could care less if they filmed it or whether it was ever recorded. For me, it was personal. For me, it was, it was deep inside me. I wanted to see what I was really capable of. And I think that's why you see me push so hard, I think that's why you see me push it so hard to the limits, because it was about that personal strength for me.
And you certainly proved it to all of us. Jeff, you have some things going on. How can people find out what you're up to in your services and any information about you?
Well, that's a good question. So I have a website. It's jeffzausch.com, and you can log on there. You can send me messages. I have a contact tab. I respond to everybody. So, sometimes it takes some time, but if you send me a message, I will respond. I also have my YouTube channel, so people that want to see what I'm doing on a everyday basis, my adventures that I'm doing, go to my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Jeff Zausch. And I have some very exciting classes coming up at the end of this summer.
You actually work with kids. Yeah,
I do. I do. I'm a counselor. I'm a therapist, and I do a lot of wilderness therapy. And I also offer, wilderness adventure courses for people that just feel like they need a little bit more adventure in their life. And conversely, I offer, wilderness therapy courses, people that just need to get away and heal their mind and heal their body. I offer these things, and I'll probably be doing it sometime later this summer. The schedules are not locked in yet because I have a very big show coming up this summer.
I was going to say, you have some news to announce.
I do. So coming this summer, EJ and myself are going to be the new stars of Discovery Channel's hit show, Dual Survival.
Dual Survivor.
So we are very excited about this.
So are you able to give us a little bit of details about that, or is it still kind of hush-hush?
Well, it's still a little bit hush-hush. I can't release too much, but I can just say that it's going to be very exciting, and I think it's going to exceed people's expectations. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, is it only one episode, or is it going to be a little bit more?" It's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more exciting and a lot more adrenaline filled than I think you've ever seen before. So if you're a fan of Naked and Afraid or Dual Survival or just wilderness in general, you don't want to miss this one. It's going to be pretty incredible.
That's awesome. Well, listen, my son has something to say as a closing message.
Go Team Jeff and EJ.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day, and thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Rusty. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.